Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Investigator Belknap, how are you, sir?
I'm well, and you?
I'm well. Thank you. I believe that you just identified Demetrius Flenory in a picture that was shown to you by the state?
I did.
Okay. And you spoke about the actions of his father, correct?
I don't believe I spoke about the actions of his father.
Okay. Okay, Demetrius Flenory, let's just talk about him, the individual in the picture. He was 5 years old when his father was incarcerated, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. You are not sitting here claiming that the actor, Demetrius Flenory, is involved in illegal activity, are you?
Are we asking about senior or junior?
I'm asking about the individual in the photo that was shown.
Okay, no, I'm not alleging any criminal activity by him.
He's an actor.
As far as I know, yes.
He's appeared in a high school drama named Euphoria. Are you aware of that?
I'm not.
Starring Zendaya. Are you aware of that?
Accidentally said you're not familiar with.
Are you familiar with it?
I'm not.
Are you familiar with the movie Taurus starring Megan Fox that he appeared in?
I'm not.
And he was 5 years old when these individuals from BMF were arrested, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. You testified about some social media posts by Christian Eppinger, correct?
Yes.
Or that appeared on Christian Eppinger's page, or a page purported to belong to Christian Eppinger.
I did.
Okay. And you said that he refers to himself as YSL Briss on the social media, correct?
Yes, that's the vanity name on the social media account.
Okay. And you also talked about some Twitter posts under the name, what was the name? Thugga Thugga?
No, sir.
Young Thug?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you talked about those Twitter posts, and you also, as part of your direct examination, talked about a picture with my client, Shannon Stillwell, standing with Quentin Porter, correct?
I did.
Okay. So, the social media of Christian Eppinger, are those posts that you were following and you collected as part of your investigation?
Some of them are, yes.
Did you pull those posts, or did someone else pull those posts for you?
I believe I pulled some of those posts, and some were pulled by other people.
Who were the other people that pulled posts?
I couldn't tell you specifically.
Who gave you the posts?
They were not given to me. They were part of this demonstrative for the jury.
Okay, who sent you the posts? Did the district attorney's office send you these posts?
I'm trying to make sure I'm accurate in answering your question. They created the demonstrative that was used in the jury, but I was not sent the individual posts.
Okay, so the district attorney's office created your demonstrative that included those posts, and then asked you to talk about them in court.
Well, I don't believe it's my demonstrative.
Okay, their demonstrative.
It's a demonstrative that was used during my testimony.
Okay, I think we get the idea.
Okay.
Alleged Jeffrey Williams social media posts on Twitter under the name Young Thug. Did you pull those posts?
I did not.
Who pulled those posts?
I don't know who specifically pulled those posts.
Who gave those posts to you?
Again, the posts themselves were not given to me, but they were compiled into the demonstrative, and that was shown to me by the state.
Okay, so the state, when did they show you this demonstrative?
I honestly don't remember specifically when, sometime over the last couple of weeks.
So over the last couple of weeks, you knew that you were going to come in and testify?
I did.
Okay, and the state prepared a demonstrative and showed it to you.
That's correct.
Okay, and your understanding, and you don't even know who pulled the post.
I don't know who specifically pulled the post, no.
Okay, and you notice that there's bolded words in those posts, correct?
I did.
Do those bolded words tell you that whomever pulled the post searched all the posts for specific words?
The presence of bold text would probably tell me that was a search term, but as far as what they were searching, the second part of your question, I don't know that I could determine that just from that.
So someone in the district attorney's office just searched Twitter for keywords such as shoot and blood and slime, correct?
Again, I don't know who actually performed that search.
Okay, did you ever go back and examine Young Thug Twitter posts in total? Did you ever go back beyond what was given you by the state and search all his posts?
Well, in terms of ever, we were monitoring, and I was monitoring his social media at the time when many of these posts were
I didn't
made.
ask ever, in preparation of trial.
Your Honor, you listen. You did let him finish his.
It was non-responsive.
It wasn't non-responsive.
You are awesome. Go ahead.
In preparation of trial, did you go back and review all his posts in total?
I did not review all of them, no.
Okay. Who gave you the picture of Mr. Stillwell and Quentin Porter?
That was part of the social media post I reviewed from the state.
Okay, so the state pulled that and then gave it to you in preparation of you testifying.
Again, I don't know who pulled the picture, but the state was the one who provided it to me.
Okay. Investigator Belknap, you've been investigating gangs in Atlanta since what year? I believe you testified to this. I missed it. So what year did you begin?
I've been in the gang unit since 2009.
2009. Is it fair to say that you've been investigating gangs in Atlanta since 2009?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And what year did you begin investigating YSL?
YSL investigation would have been 2013.
Okay. And I believe that you've testified that you consider YSL a hybrid gang.
I do.
Okay. Your investigation of YSL over the last 11 years or so, that would include an investigation into the structure of YSL. Is that fair?
I don't know if we'd necessarily investigate the structure. That's not necessarily the object of the investigation, although structure is one of the things that's uncovered during an investigation into a street gang.
What about, it would include investigating suspected members?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and it would also include investigating what you would deem common identifiers of YSL?
Yes, it does.
And that it would also include investigating the rules of YSL, correct?
Yeah, so to the extent that a particular gang has rules, it would be included.
Could you repeat that answer again? To the extent?
To the extent that a gang has specific rules, yes, that may come out in an investigation.
Okay. And now you've also, have you investigated traditional gangs before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Traditional gangs, let's talk about that for a minute. To obtain membership in a traditional gang, is there some sort of, in the general term, ceremony or some sort of things that people generally have to go through to become a member?
Yes, and it varies by gang, but there is some form of initiation, sometimes including rituals.
Okay, those rituals could include being beaten into the gang, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and could you describe in a traditional gang that you've investigated what beating into a gang would be?
Sure, so a beat into the gang typically is a set period of time where a prospective member is to endure a beating by a set number of members of the gang.
Okay. Traditional gangs, also, you've seen in your career sexing into a gang, correct?
I know that this is a practice within gangs. I don't recall working a specific case in my career involving a sex in.
Okay, fair enough. And also in traditional gangs, you would agree that the initiation process could include a requirement of committing certain violent crimes, correct?
It certainly can.
Okay. Isn't it true that in the 11 years that you've been investigating YSL, you haven't found any specific requirements or initiations required for people seeking to claim YSL?
No, I have not.
Okay, you're not aware of any beating in?
I would want to refresh my memory before giving you a final answer on that. I believe we have had some situations in our schools where some students were beaten and said that the beat-in was to join YSL.
Children?
Yes.
Okay.
Juveniles, I would say.
All right. Do you have any evidence that any individuals here today were involved in any beat-ins?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. You're not aware of, and all those other things that we talked about for the requirements of joining a traditional gang, those don't exist for YSL, correct?
So no, we haven't seen the traditional gang methodologies that were asked here as far as joining YSL now.
You're not aware of any, when someone wishes to join YSL, of any official vote of existing members or anything like that, correct?
I'm not aware of one.
You're not aware of any certain individual or person who's like the dean of admissions that decides who can join YSL or not?
No, I'm not.
Okay. And no, someone that wants to claim YSL can unilaterally declare themselves a member. Isn't that true?
I do not believe that's true.
Okay. We'll talk about that. Okay, let's talk about rules, gang rules. You would agree that traditional gangs, one thing that you often find with traditional gangs, whether you're searching houses of gang members or cars of that, or different, or jail cells maybe, you can find a book of knowledge, correct?
We often do, yes.
And that's for traditional gangs?
That is correct.
Okay, and what is a book of knowledge?
So a book of knowledge is a document created by the gang or its members that often gives a history of the gang. It gives rules for the gang, how members are to conduct their behavior within the context of the gang. It often may have codes that the gang uses, their rules, their structure, things of that nature.
A code of conduct?
Oftentimes, yes.
Okay, and who writes these books of knowledge in traditional gangs?
They're created by the gang, and they're copied and distributed by the members.
Okay. And you've seen books of knowledge before in Atlanta?
I have.
Okay. Could you give me an example of a gang that you've seen have a book of knowledge?
Sex, money, murder as an example.
Okay. All right. In your 11 years of investigating YSL, isn't it true that you've, to your recollection, never seen a book of knowledge for YSL?
So I have seen several books of knowledge that came out of the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Okay. Children?
Juveniles, yes.
Okay. In your investigations, when you're investigating people that you feel are members, you personally, have you seen books of knowledge?
I have not seen books of knowledge.
Okay. Have you seen, and the books of knowledge are what typically contains written rules for the quote-unquote gang, correct?
Yes, that's typically what they would contain.
Traditional gangs require dues, correct?
Oftentimes they do.
Okay. In your investigation of YSL, have you found a any sort of formal due structure for YSL?
I have not.
All right, and I wanted to talk to you about false flagging, okay? And could you just explain what is false flagging when an individual who is not a member of a group claims that they're a member of the group?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and that can happen through social media, correct?
It could, yes.
It could happen in person.
It could.
It could happen through someone who's not a member of a group wearing certain clothing that expresses to the world that they're a member, correct?
I'm sorry, could you ask that again?
Someone who's not a member of a group wearing certain clothing that sends a message to the world that they're a member, but they really aren't. That would be false flagging, correct?
It could be.
Or flashing signs or gang signs that indicate that they're a member of a group that they're not really a member of, correct?
It could be, yes.
Okay, and with traditional gangs, there are consequences for false flagging. Wasn't that your testimony yesterday?
That's correct.
Okay, and examples of those consequences would be what?
Typically, it's going to be an act of violence. It could be a beating. It could also be ultimately death.
And just to be clear, we're talking about for traditional gangs.
We are.
Okay. Okay. In your investigation of YSL, you said you monitor social media, correct?
Yes, sir.
You've seen hundreds, thousands of people in Georgia on social media hashtagging SLAT, correct? Is that fair to say?
I don't know if I've seen thousands.
Hundreds?
I don't even know if I've seen hundreds of different people hashtagging SLAT.
Okay. What about hashtag ESPN?
I don't know that I've seen hundreds.
Okay. You've seen people in the community hashtagging that, correct?
I'm not sure what you mean by in the community.
Do you feel that every person that's ever hashtagged SLAT or hashtag slime is necessarily a YSL member?
I don't know that I've seen every post that's hashtag SLAT or slime. I would certainly say that the ones that I can recall, there surely are incidents where someone's hashtagged it that may not be a member of the gang, but I haven't seen a lot of instances of that.
Let's make it simple. You're aware of athletes wiping their nose, correct?
I am.
On national TV during football games.
Sure.
NBA games.
Yeah.
Okay. You're aware of athletes saying slime.
Yes.
Okay. Have you determined that those athletes are members of YSL?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So we talked about traditional gangs and the repercussions for false flagging. Isn't it true that in your personal knowledge and knowledge as a gang investigator, you're not aware of repercussions for false flagging for people who claim YSL?
Again, I'd want to review some things before giving you a final answer, but I do believe we've had some incidents, particularly with younger members, with fights related to someone claiming to be YSL and others rejecting that assertion.
In schools?
In schools, but also, I believe, outside of the schools as well.
Okay, you spoke to myself and other attorneys last week, correct?
I did.
And you said that your understanding is there may have been a couple incidents in schools about children or students arguing about who's really YSL, correct?
That's correct.
All right, that's the extent of your understanding of any repercussions about false flag, correct?
Yeah, to my recollection, that's
for
correct.
YSL.
That is correct.
Okay, and you don't have any information through your investigations that any of these gentlemen have sought to punish anyone for false flagging YSL?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Thank you. Your Honor, I'm going to approach with one picture to begin with.
The exhibit number or?
It's DS4, what I've marked as DS4.
You seen DS4 on the state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Investigator Belknap, do you recognize the individual depicted in DS4?
I do.
Is that person Micah Anderson?
It is.
Okay. Mr. May I publish the picture to the jury, Your Honor? Your Honor, at this point, I would ask to admit DS4 into evidence.
Any objection to DS4?
None from the station.
All right, DS4 is admitted. Officers, you see this?
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Belknap, that is Micah Anderson, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I believe you testified that, in your opinion, he is a gang member.
Yes, he is.
And what gang is that?
He's a member of ABG and Sex Money Murder.
Okay. In your expert testimony, he is not a member of YSL?
No, sir.
Okay. And he's also a rapper, isn't that correct?
He is.
Oh, okay. And this picture is taken from the video that was shown yesterday behind the scenes of his rap video, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, the state, you're aware that at least back in 2015, he had a significant other?
I am.
Okay. And who was his significant other's name?
Arshelian Bennett.
Okay. Arshelian Bennett. Okay. And the state asked you for an alias of Micah Anderson yesterday. And what was the alias you gave?
Ola Playa.
Okay. Isn't it true that Micah Anderson has a second alias as well?
Yes.
Doesn't he also call himself, and people call him King Slime?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
You may, sir.
Investigator Belknap, I just handed you what's marked DS5. Do you recognize the young lady that's in the middle of that photo?
I do.
Okay, and who is that young lady?
So I've seen this picture before, so I know that that young lady is Arshelian Bennett.
Okay, you're aware of the existence of this photo?
I am.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would ask to admit DS5 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
May I publish?
DS5 is admitted. The officers, you see.
Okay, and the lady in the middle, is that Arshelian Bennett?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay, and the shirt that she is wearing, could you read what it says?
It says, Free King Slime Ola Playa.
Okay, and are those pictures of Ola Playa, also known as Micah Anderson, also known as King Slime, on the back of her shirt, if you can tell?
I can, and they are.
Okay, thank you. Now, may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may, sir.
Thank you. Investigator Belknap, I just handed you which has been marked DS6. Do you recognize the gentleman in that photo?
I do.
Okay, and who are those gentlemen?
I believe that's Marcel Mayfield and Fremondo Crenshaw.
Okay, and is that a still from the video that was played yesterday in court by the state?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I want to ask you, in which individual, in your honor, I move to admit DS6 into evidence.
Any objection?
Not for mistake, Your
All
Honor.
right, DS6 is admitted, you may republish as you see fit.
And Investigator Belknap, which individual is Mr. Fremondo Crenshaw?
He would be the person on the right.
Okay, is that the person wearing the beads without a shirt on?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know Fremondo Crenshaw to go by a nickname?
I do.
What is that nickname?
YSL Mondo.
Mondo. Do you believe that Mr. Crenshaw Mondo is a YSL member?
I do.
Okay. In your investigation, did it reveal that, and to your knowledge, he was a founder of YSL?
He does claim to be a founder of YSL.
Is Mr. Crenshaw still alive?
He is.
Does he live in the Atlanta area?
He does.
Okay. And this founder of YSL who lives in the Atlanta area, is he charged on this indictment?
He is not.
Was that your decision?
I did not draft the indictment.
Was it, to your knowledge, the district attorney's office under Fani Willis who drafted this indictment?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
That's the same objection.
Was it the district attorney's office that drafted this indictment?
To the extent that I can testify about the district attorney's office's business, I believe it was.
I beg the court's indulgence just for a moment.
Yes, sir.
Investigator Belknap, do you know, as an investigator, you go to court for these cases, correct?
I'm sorry?
Do you go to court for the cases that you investigate, correct?
Oftentimes, yes.
Okay. Do you know whether Mondo has ever been represented by Fani Willis?
Objection, relevance.
I stand objection.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, sir. Cross, I'm ready.
I do, Your Honor, you said to take up that matter.
I just wanted to talk to you about a couple more things. The Webb, that came up in your direct testimony.
It did.
Is that a house?
It is.
And the address is, do you know the address?
I do.
What is the address?
I believe it's 2539 Browns Mill Road.
Okay. And that's a freestanding house?
I believe it is.
Have you been there before?
I don't recall.
So you're not sure if you've ever been to this location before?
That's correct.
Okay. Is it across the street from Browns Mill Golf Course?
It is.
Okay. So you know generally where it is, but as I said, you're not certain you've been there.
I've worked in that area for quite a long time. I don't recall if I've been to that specific house before.
Can you say that you've ever been inside the house?
Again, I don't recall if I've been inside that house before.
Okay. I believe on direct, you indicated, was it your testimony that it's a trap?
I don't believe that was my testimony.
Okay, so just to be clear to the jurors, you are not saying that the Webb is a trap house?
I don't believe that that question was asked of me.
Okay, okay, that's fair. So that's not your testimony?
I don't believe that I've testified to that.
Okay.
If it wasn't asked of me.
Okay. Are you aware of any specific individuals and dates that people have been arrested for selling drugs at 2539 Browns Mill Road?
Off the top of my head, I'm not.
Okay. So as you sit here in court today testifying to this jury, you cannot name any individuals who have been arrested for selling drugs at 2539 Browns Mill Road?
Arrested there, not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, and certainly you can't give any dates?
No, not without reviewing.
Fair enough. Maybe the court's indulgence briefly.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You are familiar with this indictment?
I am.
Overt Act 104 deals
Not familiar with it.
with Mr. Durante Beebe. You know, strike that. Strike that. I'm going to ask you about, on direct, you testified, I believe, that about gangs becoming involved in the entertainment industry.
I was asking questions about that, yes.
Okay. You would agree that popular music, is full of references to gang activity or gangs at this point in 2024, correct?
I would disagree that pop music is full of gang references.
Would you agree that a large amount of popular music makes references to gangs?
I don't think I would agree with that.
Okay. Are there references to gangs made in pop music?
There are.
Okay, so your disagreement is a disagreement in degree, but not whether that exists or not.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
Okay. Did you see Snoop Dogg perform at the Super Bowl?
I did.
In front of over 1 million people?
Yeah, I did.
And he did, in fact, Crip Walk to a cheering crowd?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And this industry that has adopted these gang references, you would agree that that is in fact a multi-billion-dollar industry at this point, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Vagueness?
I'll sustain it as a form. You can rephrase
The
it.
popular music industry that has adopted these gang references, you would agree that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Still vague?
I sustain the objection. Just rephrase it, sir.
Okay. You would agree that the music industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
And as stated, you would agree that the music industry has willingly adopted references to gangs in the music.
I would not agree with the fact that the music industry has as a whole adopted gang references.
Okay. Parts of the music industry?
Yeah, I think that some in the music industry have accepted the gang influence in popular music, yes.
Okay. How many, you would agree that one of the largest stages for the music industry would be performing at halftime at the Super Bowl, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
There's 6.5 minutes already.
And
Come on, let's wrap it up.
And at halftime at the Super Bowl, there were explicit references to gang culture.
Unfortunately, yes, there were.
Beg the court's indulgence.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, thank you for the extra time. I have no further questions. Thank you.